Good morning, class 12th. Children, as you know that last time in our live class, we completed the topics of animal breeding, and the last topic that we completed was apiculture and pisciculture, right? I'm just taking a quick recap that what we have already done till now. We have started with the chapter enhancement in food production, the strategies for enhancement in food production, and in that I categorized those strategies under plant breeding, animal breeding, and then tissue culture and SCP, biofortification. All these are the strategies which are included in breeding, improvement of a crop, right? uh, Now I will be starting today with plant breeding. And what is there in your syllabus? First of all, you understand that the first thing is green revolution. Those students who are modern academy 10A, they already know what is green revolution because I have taught them at the level of class 10th. But I will be doing all this again because you all must not have done this, right? So the first thing is a brief idea of green revolution. What is the definition? What are the elements of green revolution? Who coined the term? Who gave the idea of green revolution? And then ultimately, what are the consequences or the impacts of green revolution? So this is a short note type of content, but must understand the question may have a worth of 2 to 3 marks, right? And sometimes maybe 1 mark. They might ask you to list any one consequence of green revolution, so then it will be taking only 1 mark. They might ask you, the board might ask you to write 2 consequences or any 2 elements. So in that case, just see how many points are asked, and depending upon that the marks could be allotted. After this green revolution, you will be doing the topic of steps of plant breeding. Now these steps are almost 6 or 7 in number, so depending upon the number of steps, we believe that it has the worth of 5 marks, right? 3 to 5 marks. So heading and explanation format will be followed while explaining steps of plant breeding, and thereafter you have certain terms like inbreeding depression that you have already done. We will be discussing it again, and hybrid vigor, that is heterosis, right? So let us start now with the first topic, that is brief reference of green revolution. You have to listen to me, listen to this content like a story. Don't try to mug it up. You all know what are the practices that the farmers are following in the field, and we will be discussing them only one by one, right? So the story begins with, first of all, that this is the time long back when India got freedom. At that time there was a scarcity of food production in India. Reason behind was when the British people left, these people did not leave any worth in India, and this led to the very spoilt status, very bad scene of agriculture, because agriculture does need investment and the money wasn't there to be invested in agriculture, right? So in that case, India needed a boost in production because the people were dying of starvation. There was no food availability for the population, and at the same time there was Bengal famine, which actually worsened the case. In that case, the scientist, Indian scientist Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, he went to the father of a green revolution. If we talk about the global father in the world, in that case the name would be Dr. Norman Borlaug, and the name is written there and you can see the spelling too. And in India it is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, who actually got the training from Dr. Norman Borlaug and executed that training in India, right? So what is green revolution all about? It has nothing to do with the greenery, so please stop writing that it is the plantation, it is the forestation. No, it is the boost or increase in the productivity of food. Mainly we talk about the staple food, that is rice and wheat, right? So increase in the productivity of food, doesn't matter by hook or crook, we have to increase. So in that case, the things which were used were basically HYVs, high yielding varieties, and second thing which was involved in this was modern agricultural practices like inclusion of chemicals and all, right? But ultimately green revolution was a success. We can discuss the elements one by one because they have certain details there, but as of now you just understand that initially this actually gave the boost to production, and the food production was increased dramatically, right? And this actually resolved the problem of starvation in India, and there was a boost in export too because we were producing surplus amount of food, and this actually created the improved financial status of the farmers. But here too there was a problem, that there was a disparity means unevenness between rich and poor farmers, because the elements, the strategies which are used in green revolution to increase the productivity of crop, these strategies are expensive strategies, right? Expensive strategies are only affordable by the rich farmers, and the poor farmers were left with nothing. So there was a huge gap between richness and poverty, right children? Now come to the elements of green revolution. What exactly we did during green revolution? It's not a one step process, obviously it's a multi-step process. So if you can see that there are, I have written here elements of green revolution. The first element is by using HYVs. Children, when green revolution was implemented, at that time we could not even talk about the resistant varieties with respect to disease or drought and so on, right? But HYVs were pretty much there. So use of high yielding varieties which were genetically engineered, biotechnologically engineered varieties were there, which increased the food production. Second thing, which was the main element of green revolution, was expansion of farmlands, because there was limited land area for cultivation. So to increase that limited agricultural field area, we actually cut the trees. So deforestation, extensive deforestation was there in order to get the free vacant area so that we can perform agricultural practices over it, right? And the third one here is intensive farming. Now intensive farming is a somewhat exploitative farming, right? You are going to exploit the resources like soil and water here, and the nutrients present in soil. I mean, you are trying to extract so much out of it, and you are not allowing the soil to rejuvenate, to replenish with the main resources. So intensive farming actually includes, the first thing that it includes is the use of synthetic chemicals. That means the fertilizers and the pesticides. These are very, very strong chemicals, though they increase the productivity initially, but since they are chemicals, they later on give very bad impact over the soil profile, right? But since we are talking about the elements here, so we have to include that agrochemicals are involved in green revolution. Then the second heading, if you can see, I have written monoculture. Mono means single and culture means cultivation. If you cultivate a single type of crop over the same land area repeatedly, that land area would lead to depletion of a particular nutrient. Suppose for instance, if I say that wheat, okay, wheat needs phosphorus for cultivation, for growth and development. So in that case, if you are cultivating wheat repeatedly in an area, that means that particular area would be eventually get depleted in phosphorus content, right? But since monoculture was a continuous practice of growing the cereal crops and then increasing the production, it actually fulfilled the purpose of green revolution. We will be discussing the impacts later on, but as of now it is true that yes, monoculture initially helped in boosting the production. Another one is macro irrigation. Macro irrigation is the water supply to the agricultural field by canals and dams, right? So here the huge amounts of water are supplied into the field, which leads to wastage and all. But since we talk about HYVs, high yielding varieties, they always require much amount of water. These are pampered crops, biotechnologically engineered crops are pampered crops. They always need more fertilizer, they need more water, and then when they grow and the seed comes, it is so alluring that they become prone to pest attack. So you need more pesticides too to control that loss, right? So these are pampered crops which need agrochemical and water supply in higher amounts, in that case it always creates a bad impact over the environment. But initially we weren't bothered about that consequence. Actually, the thing only we were focusing on was to resolve the problem of hunger in the country and also to improve the financial status. Right, children? One more word I have mentioned in intensive farming, that is farm mechanization. Farm mechanization means use of machinery over the farm. It may start with the tractors, seeders, threshers, harvesters, winnowers. All these machineries are used in farm, but they also create a kind of negative impact over the field that I'm going to discuss further. Right. Now, if you can see the impact on environment, this is the topic that I'll be completing in this video. Then we'll be following the rest of the content in the next video. Right? Impacts on environment, I just now told you that a green revolution is all about expansion of farmlands. That means the first impact was deforestation. Second thing is land degradation. When you supply agrochemicals over the soil, right? These agrochemicals are so strong that they make the soil less, the moisture retaining capacity of the soil is hampered, and in that case soil becomes more prone to erosion. Plants are also not there to control erosion. Another thing is you have also used the agrochemicals. In that case, the salinization is the deposition of salt over the soil surface. Right, this salinization actually hinders with everything. It doesn't allow the moisture to be retained. It allows soil erosion. It alters the soil texture, the clay soil, the sandy soil, the silt. All those three profiles are actually altered. And then since salinization is there, it plugs the air spaces of the soil and roots are not able to exchange the gases there. And also the less moisture retention makes the soil dry. Right, children? Another thing here is this always, because these are toxic chemicals, they always have a negative impact over the living organisms too. The third one here is soil and water pollution. Children, when we talk about soil and water pollution, we always say the first one is when you supply fertilizers. These fertilizers are supplied over the soil only, but with the agricultural runoff, when you supply so much of water, the water follows the inclined plane. It runs off from the field and that water goes to the nearby water body. Right, now this water, since it is having the dissolved fertilizer in it, it will be improving the growth of phytoplanktons. Now phytoplanktons are the aquatic plants, particularly with reference to algae. Right, this algae starts blooming, it starts overgrowing due to the enrichment of water body with the fertilizers, and it covers the surface of the whole water body. So the food chain, which is actually aquatic food chain running in the water, is actually destroyed. Right? The water is not consumable and the food chain is destroyed. The oxygen content of the water body also depletes and the sunlight is also blocked. This is eutrophication. That means enrichment of water body with nitrates and phosphates. These are the two main classes of fertilizers, nitrates and phosphates. Enrichment of water body with nitrates and phosphates, thereby increasing the excessive growth of algae. Right? Another one I have used is biomagnification. When you are using pesticides, these are chloro compounds. DDT, dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane. One more is BHC, that is benzene hexachloride. So every time you are using a pesticide, it is having a very toxic chloro concentration and this is very stable. Once you apply it on the field, it is going to remain in the field for approximately 3 years. Right, very stable compounds. So in that case, these toxic chemicals, since they stay in the soil only, they are absorbed by the plants, and from plants they go to the herbivores, from herbivores they go to the carnivores, and in that case there is an accumulation of toxic chemicals inside the living organism's body. This is known as biomagnification. Increase in the concentration of toxic substances along the various levels of food chain. Right. Another impact is wastage of water, because macro irrigation is there, so all the water is not absorbed by the root, some water runs off too, so it is wasted. And much water, if suppose there is a flat plane, there is no inclined plane, in that case water logging condition could be there, right? Then you have depletion of nutrients due to monoculture. I have already explained why monoculture goes for depletion of a particular nutrient in an area. And then second last is loss of soil biota. Since you are using so toxic chemicals and pesticides over the field, if they are going to harm human beings, obviously they would be killing the bacteria and the soil living organisms which are there in the soil, like ants and termites and earthworms and useful bacteria. They all will be destroyed. And the last one here is health hazards, potential health hazards, because biomagnification is something which is transferring the chemicals from the plants to our body. Right, children? But so many bad impacts of green revolution, this was realized very late, but the moment it was realized, the government of India is actually running for the answer to this problem, and the answer is sustainable agriculture. In general words, you call it organic farming without using any chemical pesticide. Right, children? So I am concluding this video here, and I will be proceeding further in the next video. Let me tell you, the plant breeding contains much of theoretical explanation rather than diagrammatic explanation. So bear that. Okay. Thank you.